So let me ask you about productivity.
Sure.
And that is one of the things that Tyler Cowen and other people have written about is the rise of automation, and that might be a factor that comes into play in terms of economic growth. Tell our viewers why that might or might not be significant.
Sure. So this main demographic trend that Susan talked about, the aging of the population and baby boomers retiring, that's slowing labor force growth in Minnesota. And so that means that also limits our employment growth in Minnesota, because you can't count employment growth, you can't count a job until you have a person in that job. And so if you have a slow growth in labor force, that slows your employment growth. So what does that mean going forward? It means that for Minnesota, we have this demographic trend occurring at the same time that we're in an expansion period in the business cycle. And Minnesota recovered from the Great Recession sooner than many other states and sooner than the United States as a whole. And so we have a tightening labor market where we have high demand for workers and low unemployment. So that tightness in the labor market means that employers are struggling to find workers sometimes. So by necessity, they're looking to replace workers potentially with technology and increase the productivity of the workers that they have. So in order to produce the same amount of stuff that we used to produce and maintain the same quality of life and the same relatively high incomes that Minnesota has enjoyed, with slower labor force growth, we need each one of those workers to be more productive, and technology and equipment is one way to do that.
So do you see, in terms of the economic studies and work that you do, not only in Minnesota but elsewhere, rising automation being an issue in terms of jobs being available for people, or is that simply a function rather of the tightness of the current labor market?
Well, in the environment we're in now, where in Minnesota right now, we have a 1-to-1 ratio of unemployed workers to job vacancies. So that's what I mean by a tight labor market. It means that some demand for workers is going to go unmet. So in that environment, it doesn't harm any workers to use automation to increase their productivity. In fact, when their productivity goes up, their wages go up too, because employers can afford to pay them more because they're making a greater profit. So in that environment, it's a necessity. When you're in an environment where you have high unemployment and you have a lot of people being laid off, that's when that substitution of automation or equipment for workers can cause some distress, because it increases the number of unemployed workers.
So obviously this isn't you don't have an even supply of work and workers across the state of Minnesota. So we know that among the young, for example, perhaps among some ethnic groups, that unemployment levels are higher.
Right.
Now, is that something you take into account in your calculations? Are you called upon to make suggestions about how to deal with that? How does that factor into the work that you do?
Yeah, so that's true. Minnesota has a low unemployment rate. It's 3.7% right now. That's tied for 10th lowest among the states, and it's one of the lowest for states that have a large metropolitan area. And it's lower, a point and a half or so below the U.S. unemployment rate. So in that sense, Minnesota's economy outperforms the U.S. economy, but it doesn't outperform for everybody. We have higher unemployment rates among communities of color, so higher unemployment rates for workers, Hispanic workers, and African American workers and Native American workers. So what that means right now in this environment where the labor market is tightening, it means that the employers who do well under this environment are the ones who find those pockets of workers that we still have, those pockets of unemployment, and figure out how to attract those workers to their jobs.
And do you see examples of that, or does that show up in your data as something that's occurring? And it would be anecdotal, I would guess, necessarily, but any stories or remarks you might want to share with our viewers about that? Yeah,
well, what shows up in the data on the aggregate level is that the unemployment rates for all those different groups falls. And so that's been the most recent trends in African American unemployment rates has been for that to come down. And you would expect it to as the economy continues to expand and as demand for workers increases. But you've also seen some cases of employers, for instance, looking to transport workers from one part of the state to another part of the state. So while I said we have the same number of unemployed workers as we have jobs, that doesn't mean it's necessarily trivial for everybody who's looking for a job to find one, because the workers may be focusing their search in a part of the state where the jobs aren't, or the employers are looking to hire people in a community where the people aren't. And so figuring out how to, I think both employers and employees are thinking of creative ways to make those matches now. And so you hear about Greater Minnesota manufacturing firms, for instance, concerned about a lack of housing in their communities, that with the lack of housing, it means they're having trouble attracting people to live there, and so they're investing in housing themselves, or they're investing in transportation themselves to attract workers, or they're recruiting in communities that they might have overlooked before.
From a demography standpoint, do you see, you talked earlier about that it's not a uniform situation where Greater Minnesota has population loss, Twin Cities has growth, but do you see this sort of job search as affecting the numbers that you're looking at from a demography standpoint? Do you see growth in those areas as a result of these economic issues?
I guess what I have seen this far is when we're looking at some of the labor markets, particularly in Greater Minnesota, where there's not as much growth, that's where we're hearing where there are greater shortages. When you have a population that's not growing as quickly or that's declining, you tend to have an older population, as I mentioned before, and as people get into those older years, they require more care. Now, I've done a few analyses looking at some places of rural Minnesota that has, just to look at what potential labor pool is out there for the care of older adults. And it's really pretty amazing how scant the supply of potential workers is in some areas of the state, where and caring for an elderly person really has to be a pretty low ratio of, you have to have a person there. You have to do it in person. It's not something that you
can't telecommute to that job.
No, you can't automate it either.
Right. That's right. So this is something where you actually need the two people in the same place, and the person who needs the care isn't very mobile necessarily either. Although we also hear stories of people moving to places where there are care facilities. So. Yeah, we do hear about those matches happening. I've also heard of healthcare providers busing workforce in when they need it from elsewhere in the state. And so we're hearing about these things happening now that maybe I didn't even just a few years ago, that this is something that seems like it's really important for a lot of people right now.
And of course, the economics of this comes into play because of the tight regulation in terms of reimbursement of people who perform those services. Yeah. And if those reimbursement rates are lower in a labor market that is tight, it's going to be harder to find people. That's my economic contribution to tonight's conversation.